Enough of this folly. Charge. Pumping gasoline into a young boy's ass. Folly. But raping that boy whose ass is full of gasoline equals not folly. Got it. Jack screamed as he rammed his cock violently into Jaden's rectum, causing the gasoline to splash all over us. Jesus, I hope no one brought a match. Jaden screamed as well, though it was not due to excitement, but due to the intense pain as 25 centimeters of rock-hard, horny flesh were driven into his gas-soaked bowels with a manifold persistence. Jack proceeded to thrust into his bound victim. Oh, yeah. Oh, rarg. You leave Manimal out of this, sir. He soon reached climax, causing his semen to shoot out of his love meat and into Jaden's innards. Love meat? I haven't heard that in a while. A true waterfall of cum was soon to fill the younger man's bowels. This, however, did not mark the end of Jack's atrocities. Oh, when it says the attendant, does it mean Jack, or does it mean, Jaden? Do either of you know? Because technically they're both attendants. Oh. Oh, Lord, I've gotta piss, groaned the attendant suddenly. You leave me out of this too, fucks. Despite all the previous misdeeds of this chastiser, Jaden still had some faith in Jack's humanity. I don't. Causing his sickeningly optimistic personality to wait for the attendant to pull his cock out of him. Pro tip, you probably shouldn't have faith in the humanity of anyone who anally rapes you and or sticks a gas pump in your ass. You're really just begging to be disappointed. These hopes, alas, were soon to be disappointed, as Jaden felt hot urine flooding. Oh, that's beautiful. Warg. That was the sound of Jaden puking out all that was in his stomach. The gag wise Jack had placed in his mouth stopped his vomit from escaping its prison. Instead, the half-digested food gathering in his oral cavity, where it caused a burn sensation on his tongue. Well, yeah, it's got stomach acid. It would. That, along with this feeling of disgust, pushed him to levels of mental pain that were almost competitive to the physical pain he'd experienced so far. Hey, Jaden, if it makes you feel any better, I hear you get a free coffee with every fill up. While Jaden sensed the shape of a half-dissolved sausage pressing against the inside of his lips, his tormentor prepared the last act of Jaden's redemption. Jack knew Jaden could accuse him of rape, scandalization, unless, of course, he disposed of all evidence in time. Quickly he retrieved the cash register containing his gains, his portrait of Generalissima Stalin, and most important of all, the insurance documents for his gas station from the building, and carried them all along to his Toyota Supra. But why does everyone have like a big name brand Japanese car? Like I know this is Yu-Gi-Oh, so it takes place in Japan, but like I'm sure like they could have just written along to his car. They didn't have to mention like the name of his car. Like, when I'm going to the supermarket, I just go, like, oh, I'm going to my car. I don't go, oh, I'm going to my 1978 Cadillac. You know, this is, like, overkill. After assuring the safety of his most prized possessions, he prepared for the last phase of his fiendish scheme. When the author uses the word redemption, I wonder what word he actually means, because it's definitely not redemption. Spending time alongside thee was fun, Jaden. Yet, alas, we'll have to say farewell now. Jaden was overrun by joy. Finally, his ordeal was about to end. Soon, Jack would free him of his bondage, allowing Jaden to return to Duel Academy. Putting up with Chaz's annoying arrogance didn't sound too bad at this point. Soon, he could cut classes again, duel crappy opponents whom he could annoy with his optimism, and try to seduce Alexis Rhodes. He was wrong. Painfully wrong. Jack pulled out an igniter cord. He secured one end of it in Jaden's gas-filled anus while he placed the other one near his Toyota. Farewell, Jaden. Thou'll find this non-Dutch meat done Todd. I don't know what that means. Jack called. As he lit a match with one last smile, he set the fuse on fire. Well, torturing, raping, and then killing Jaden doesn't teach him a lesson about not involuntarily orgasming underneath cars, I don't know what will. Quickly, he entered his car, driving off the parking lot and stopping it on a hill, from where he could watch the end of his beloved gas station, as well as the end of his victim. The fuse was already burned down halfway, causing Jack's member to grow one more time with excitement. He did not even bother to put his pants back on, while he waited for the gasoline inside Jaden to be incinerated, which would cause a deadly chain reaction that would reduce all evidence of the crime to ashes. Finally, the small flame crawling across the fuse reached its destination. Jack could hear Jaden's inhuman scream while the flames flickered out of his incinerated home. Oh, Jesus Christ. This guy is worse than, Patrick Bateman. Can anyone tell what my favorite line from this review is? Is it glue, arg? Is that it? Jaden's delicious naked body was detonated from the inside, causing his 4 limbs to be launched like rockets of vegetable. Jesus Christ. It's so vivid in its description that while his brown-haired pretty head went off like a vertical takeoff plane, his bowels were catapulted into the air, where they were slapped against the gas station's canopy. This is oh, that was a really good line, I'm not gonna lie. That was a really good line. They adhered to the roofing due to the enormous speed they had been launched with. Much to Jack's amusement, the last part of Jaden's body that remained more or less intact were his genitals, that were still semi-erect. I thought he already said that it wasn't erect anymore. I don't get it. The smile as he bowed down to take up this severed cock, for he was not shying away from a little bit of blood or the torn ureter that was just hanging out of it. Farewell, sweet prince, and a flight of angels sing me to thy rest, said Jack, lifting the penis in front of his face. Then, in a last act of animalist horniness, he swallowed the smushed thing, groaning like an ecstatic goat in the process. With the last piece of defiled evidence out of the way, Jack retrieved his mobile phone from his vest pocket and called for the police, the firefighters, and of course the insurance agency. The investigations were mere routine, for nobody had been harmed in the incident, or so the authorities thought. What officer? The bowel stuck to the ceiling of the garage? Those have always been there. Upon receiving his insurance money, Jack left Japan for good, and instead began to build up an all-new existence in Eritrea, where he took great pleasure in exploring the relics of the forgotten civilization of Axum, for he had always loved the tales about the cruel punishments the Axumite king of kings could send his prisoners to. It should be sentence, not sense. For hours Jack could sit in the ruins of the great execution square of Matara and indulge in the sheer glory of mankind's past. The eternal rise and fall of nations that mark world's history are a ballet of power and honor that can only be chosen, can dare to understand. Whenever he sat there, Jack was overcome by an emotive fit of joy, feeling such a godly severity that I won't even dare to try describing it. And this paragraph is why I don't think this is a crackfic. No crackfic author would even bother to write a paragraph so needless but so detailed about where his rape antagonist ends up. I don't think they even could. Only a true lunatic would write such a thing. Jack was affluent enough to live through the rest of his life without ever having to work again. Yet an active man like him could not remain without occupation for long. He started to write critically acclaimed poetry about the struggle for wealth, power, and love, and also became manager of his own spanking studio in Santa Fe, which earned him a good extra sum each month. Also he found his true love, an indigenous woman named Sabakifu, with whom he fathered 3 sons. He enjoyed watching them grow and father grandchildren for him. And Jack had the pleasure of knowing he had taught Jaden a very valuable lesson for 30 or so seconds between the time he was done raping and when he murdered him. That and those grandkids were the true joys of his life. Oh my God. Dear Lord. That was amazing.